In less than 10 days, July 31st, the moratorium for single-family evictions and foreclosures is set to expire. If this happens, will we see a flood of foreclosures hit the market and turn everything upside down? Let's take a look. Mortgage forbearance started back in 2020, and it was originally proposed as a way to help homeowners who had lost their job or experienced financial hardship stay in their home. Now, the moratorium and mortgage forbearance was originally supposed to expire at the end of 2020. The moratorium is set to expire at the end of this month. With that being said, many are wondering if mortgage forbearance will be extended again, and if it's not, how will this impact the real estate market? Since the CARES Act passed last year, more than 9 million Americans pressed pause on making their monthly mortgage payments, entering what's technically called a forbearance. So if you're thinking that over 9 million homes will be hitting the market as soon as this forbearance ends, not exactly. And let me tell you why. The Mortgage Bankers Association revealed yesterday that the number of loans in forbearance is down to just 1.75 million homeowners. Yes, 1.75 million is still a large number. But when you take into consideration that at one time we had 9 million homeowners in forbearance, this is just a small fraction of where we once were with people needing assistance. In addition to this, 125,000 households were able to get out of forbearance just this last week. One way or another, many have been able to come out of forbearance and get caught up with their mortgage payments. This is largely due to the fact that the world has opened back up and many people have gone back to work. Whether the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions ends this month, or next month, or 5 months down the road, it is inevitable that we will definitely see an uptick in inventory. However, we still have currently, right now, 1.75 million people in a forbearance program. Now, does that mean that we're going to immediately see 1.75 million foreclosures as soon as this moratorium is lifted? Not quite. Think about this. Let's say that the moratorium ends at the end of this month and is no longer extended. Under federal law, a servicer cannot foreclose on a house unless a mortgage is over 120 days past due. If a homeowner has been in forbearance and the moratorium ends and they can keep up with their payments, they are fine. In theory, this means that the only homes where foreclosure processes would start immediately would be in situations where homeowners have let their mortgage fall 4 or more months past due. But even immediately does not mean that we will see a flood of foreclosures come August. On average, it takes about 18 months to foreclose on a property from start to finish. In addition to this, some banks have stated that they will not resume mortgage foreclosures until 2022, regardless of when the mortgage forbearance is lifted. Wells Fargo CEO Charles Scharf said, "For the loans that we own, we have extended our moratoriums for foreclosures and evictions until the end of the year." Additionally, Wells Fargo supports the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's proposed rule that would prevent lenders across the industry from starting foreclosure proceedings until 2022. Bank of America and JP Morgan Chase both report that the number of customers that are currently still in forbearance and at risk of falling delinquent has reduced by 90%. Representatives from both banks did not make any statements on how quickly they would resume foreclosures after the moratorium is lifted, but they did both mention that they would be making arrangements with any of their customers that still needed assistance. This makes sense considering that foreclosing is an expensive process for banks. That's right, believe it or not, banks actually do not want to take people's homes away. When it comes to clearing the property, securing it, hiring lawyers, banks are potentially out tens of thousands of dollars before they've even had the opportunity to get the home listed for sale. In my opinion, I do think that we are going to see more distressed sellers bringing their homes to market. But I don't necessarily think that this means we're going to see that big rush of foreclosures that everyone is talking about. Remember how I said that a homeowner has to be over 120 days past due on their mortgage before the bank can start any foreclosure proceedings? For homeowners who have been able to stay in their home throughout the moratorium, but do not currently have the financial stability to resume payments, when the moratorium ends, they will still have around 120 days before they get into any serious trouble and are at risk of losing their home. With that being said, in this market, 120 days is plenty of time to get a home sold. Although they may not want to sell, oftentimes selling a house is the best option for a distressed seller because it doesn't carry the negative effects that going into foreclosure or short selling a home will on the homeowner's credit. Homeowners have every right to sell their home up until the point that the bank takes it. So you as a home buyer may start to see an increase of online listings that are pre-foreclosures. This term refers to when a bank has notified a homeowner that they are behind on their payments and that if they cannot get current, a foreclosure may take place. In addition to distressed owners deciding to sell their homes, some landlords may decide to sell as soon as they have the ability to evict tenants that are several months behind on rent. The moratorium protected tenants from being evicted even if they were behind on rent. At this time, there are several landlords across the country that have not been receiving their regular rent payments, and because of this, are falling behind on their own rental property mortgages. Seeing as the government was not exactly on the landlord's side throughout this whole pandemic, I could see how some of them are fed up enough now to want to sell their portfolio or at least a significant portion of it. Plus, as you all know, the market is very hot right now, so it would be advantageous for many of these investors who are tired of renting to cash out. Although it is sad that people will be losing their homes when this moratorium is lifted, I do want you guys to understand that it is somewhat of a necessary evil. Although the additional inventory coming to the market, in my opinion, is not enough to cause a housing crash or really even fix our lack of inventory, new homes coming to the market from distressed sellers, exhausted landlords, and ultimately banks foreclosing will help with our affordability crisis and inventory problem. Did you know that some residential mortgages will not allow you to buy foreclosures? There are some important differences that you need to be aware of if you decide to purchase a distressed property or a foreclosure down the road. Check out this video on my second channel where I explain 3 loan types that allow first-time homebuyers to buy foreclosures without needing a lot of cash. I'm Nicole Nark, Arkansas real estate broker, and this has been another video to help you find your way home.